This evening, Eccles Community Development Group is celebrating Amerindian Heritage Month by giving free hampers. Teen killed in front of his father after a skidder wheel explodes in his face. 2 men arrested for narcotics possession amid a CANU operation. In the region, Jamaican policeman killed while trying to quell a fight. And internationally, Iran's economy flatters as nuclear negotiations hit wall. Welcome to another broadcast of Channel 2's Headline News Updates. I am Baby Bacchus. Thank you for joining us. Amerindian residents of Eccles, East Bank, Demerara, on Saturday benefited from a hamper distribution exercise organized by the Eccles Community Development Group. The initiative was executed in collaboration with Advisor to the Minister of Culture, Youth and Sport Neil Kamar and Parliamentary Secretary Sarah Brown. Speaking during the activity, Kamar related that the activity catered to Amerindians who were not currently living in Amerindian villages. It seeks to accommodate and bring together the Amerindian people living in the Eccles community. Kamar took the opportunity to highlight the major development taking place in the community and urged community leaders to do their best as it pertains to the maintenance and development of the community. Meanwhile, Parliamentary Secretary Sarah Brown stated that Amerindians are high on the list of the government priorities. A plaque of appreciation was also presented to National Calypsonian Miguel Ferreira for his continuous contribution to the community. 17-year-old Ulrich Glenn Henry, a father of 2 from Springlands, Criviton, East Berbice Quarantine, died a gruesome death on Friday, September 9th, after a skidder wheel he was filling with air exploded in his face. The incident occurred at a logging concession at Evelyn Landing, Upper Quarantine, Berbice. According to Henry's father, Herman Dionorine, who was also working the logging concession, he was standing 80 feet away from his son when the explosion occurred. He said the explosion flung his son about 15 feet into the air before he landed. Dionorine rushed to his son, who was lying face down. He additionally stated that he turned his son over, but Henry had already died. The young man received severe injuries to his face. His right hand also appeared broken. Dionorine further stated that before the incident, Henry, 2 boys, and himself were working on the skidder wheel. After they finished, Henry started up a truck and used the compressor to pump the wheel, and while pumping the air into the wheel, it exploded, hitting him in the face. The police and the emergency medical technicians subsequently arrived at the scene, and Henry was pronounced dead. A post-mortem examination is expected to be performed on Tuesday. 15 female foreign nationals were rescued during a cordon and search operation at Bikers Bar located at Covent Garden, East Bank, Demerara on Thursday, September 8th. Ranks of the Ghana Police Force, officers of the Ministry of Home Affairs and Ministry of Human Services and Social Security Counter-Trafficking in Persons Unit, based on intelligence received, swooped down on the bar around 1:30 p.m. where they discovered and interviewed the females. According to reports from the Ministry of Home Affairs, currently an investigation is being undertaken to alleged act of human trafficking and labor exploitation. 1 suspect had been detained. The ministry will provide further updates as they become available and wish to notify the public that the Ghana Police Force will continue to monitor these establishments. Stick around after the break. 2 men arrested for narcotics possession amid a CANU operation, and the Ghana Police Force issues a wanted bulletin for Ronald Zohor.
Good girl forget things.
What's the problem, Granny?
I want money for borrow for those surgery. I was dancing and I fall and fracture my hip.
If you need some quick money, you should check Lender's Jewelry and Pawn Shop.
Lender's Jewelry and Pawn Shop, Lot 238 South Road, Border, Georgetown. Get jewelry made to order in just 72 hours. We also accept vehicles. Lender's, best rates, longest payback period.
Boys, I get through. Plus, I could dance again.
Lender's Jewelry and Pawn Shop.
Sooner or later you will have another power failure. Are you prepared for the next blackout? Some essential equipment such as security cameras, lights, internet, gate motors, and water pumps may stop working. How can you prevent the next blackout? InverterTech has an affordable solution for you. A strong UPS system which uses the latest inverter and solar battery technology to prevent blackout. We smartly calculate your average power demand so you don't spend more than you need to. Call 223-2233 for more information.
When you need money and you gotta get it fast, Creative Jewelry and Pawn Shop is the place for that confidential transaction in a quiet and secure location. You'll get the highest value per pennyweight for your gold and also enjoy the lowest interest rates and longest payback period too. Yes, for that instant transaction to solve a pressing financial problem. That Creative Jewelry and Pawn Shop, 46 Boyle Place, that's between the Ministry of Housing on Brickdam and White Castle Fish Shop, be your first and only choice. Creative Jewelry and Pawn Shop, safe and sound, solid and secure, always there for you. Telephone 231-7878 and 223-8955.
Welcome back. Officers of the Customs Anti-Narcotics Unit conducted an operation at lots 32 and 34 Craig Street, Camberville, Georgetown, where they arrested 2 men and confiscated several grams of cocaine on Friday, September 9th. Reports said that the lot 34 Craig Street, Camberville property is a known drug yard. A subsequent search of both properties discovered several transparent glass tubes labeled lidocaine and several substances suspected to be cocaine. The 2 men arrested during the operations were 61-year-old Andre Gomes, known as Zipper, and 38-year-old Mark Gomes. These 2 suspects were previously arrested and charged by CANU for trafficking narcotics. The suspects were escorted to the CANU headquarters along with the suspected substances and the number of transparent glass tubes. The substances tested positive for cocaine and had a total weight of 24.4 grams. Investigations are ongoing. To ensure that children are safeguarded from illegal drugs, CANU will continue to undertake similar operations on known drug yards that are close to schools. The Ghana Fire Service has noted several recent reports of garbage and grass fires in various parts of the country and is urging citizens to desist from openly burning heaps of garbage or grass. If these fires do occur, they should never be left unattended as they have the potential to spread and become major fire emergencies. Persons desirous of using fire as a method of land clearing or for any other purpose must obtain permission from the Ghana Fire Service before proceeding further. Tips for controlling and preventing grass fires: do not throw cigarettes or cigar butts on the ground or out of a vehicle. Dispose of them properly and make sure they are completely extinguished. Be mindful of parking cars, trucks, or recreational vehicles on dry grass or shrubs. Exhaust systems on vehicles can reach a temperature of more than 1,000 degrees. It only takes about 500 degrees to start a fire during the dry season. Parents should emphasize to their children the dangers of playing with fire, as some grass fires are started by children who have no idea how quickly flames can grow and spread. Keep a shovel, bucket of water, fire extinguisher, or other fire suppression tools on hand. Burning of waste can result in the release of highly toxic pollutants into your home and environment. Citizens should also note that the illegal open burning of garbage attracts a fine of $80,000 to $300,000, and perpetrators can face up to 3 months of imprisonment. The Ghana Police Force has issued a wanted bulletin for 45-year-old Ronald Zuhur of Lot 65 Better Hope, East Coast, Demerara, for questioning in relation to sexual assault. The incident occurred at Pleasance, East Coast, Demerara on June 13, 2019. If seen or anyone has information about the whereabouts of Ronald Zuhur, you can contact the police at 225-6940, 225-6941, or the nearest police station. Don't go away after the break. Chileans march on the 49th anniversary of Pinochet coup, and King Charles III pays tribute to Queen during proclamation.
When you need money and you gotta get it fast, Creative Jewelry and Pawn Shop is the place for that confidential transaction in a quiet and secure location. You'll get the highest value per pennyweight for your gold and also enjoy the lowest interest rates and longest payback period too. Yes, for that instant transaction to solve a pressing financial problem. That Creative Jewelry and Pawn Shop, 46 Boyle Place, that's between the Ministry of Housing on Brick Dam and White Castle Fish Shop. Be your first and only choice. Creative Jewelry and Pawn Shop, safe and sound, solid and secure, always there for you. Telephone 231-7878 and 223-8955.
Sooner or later you will have another power failure. Are you prepared for the next blackout? Some essential equipment such as security cameras, lights, internet, gate motors, and water pumps may stop working. How can you prevent the next blackout? InverterTech has an affordable solution for you. A strong UPS system which uses the latest inverter and solar battery technology to prevent blackout. We smartly calculate your average power demand so you don't spend more than you need to. Call 223-2233 for more information.
Good girl forget things.
What's the problem, Granny?
I want money for borrow for do a surgery. I was dancing and I fall and fracture my hip.
If you need some quick money, you should check Lender's Jewelry and Pawn Shop.
Lender's Jewelry and Pawn Shop, Lot 238 South Road Border, Georgetown. Get jewelry made to order in just 72 hours. We also accept vehicles. Lenders, best rates, longest payback period.
Boys, I get through. Plus, I could dance again.
Lender's Jewelry and Pawn Shop.
Welcome back. Now let's take a look at what's happening in the region and around the world. An investigation has been launched following the death of a policeman who tried to end a fight in the central parish of St. Catherine, Jamaica on Saturday. According to police reports, 65-year-old Detective Sergeant Victor Francis, who was assigned to the Center for the Investigations of Sexual Offenses and Child Abuse headquarters, observed two men in a physical confrontation and attempted to intervene when he was stabbed. One of the men ran behind the policeman and used him as a shield, while the alleged knife wielder attacker continued stabbing, injuring the cop. Francis was pronounced dead at the hospital. Jamaica's Police High Command has expressed condolences to his family, friends, and colleagues. In South America, Chileans have marched as they remember the anniversary of the 1973 coup in Santiago, which General Augusto Pinochet led. During his military rule, which spanned the 1970s and 80s, more than 1,200 people disappeared. Al Jazeera's Lucia Newman reports.
Long before the attack on the Twin Towers in New York, there was another September 11th that made history. Thousands of demonstrators marched past the presidential palace on the 49th anniversary of Chile's 1973 coup d'etat. It overthrew Socialist President Salvador Allende and ushered in 17 years of military dictatorship that has left deep scars to this day. In front of the presidential palace, riot police used water cannon and tear gas to disperse protesters who threw stones and incendiary bombs at security forces. This was just the beginning.
Excuse the wet hair, we've just been drenched by the water cannon. But the march is continuing. It's moving at this hour towards the General Cemetery to pay tribute to former President Allende. That's where he is buried. But we are expecting a lot more confrontations along the way.
While violent protesters clashed with police, scores of others paid their respects to the thousands who were executed or were detained and disappeared after the military coup led by General Augusto Pinochet. It's a period that continues to evoke pain and anger.
We have been waiting for successive governments to see that justice is done, to go after the culprits, but the majority have gotten away with murder.
President Gabriel Boric addressed the nation, vowing to make good on his promise to search for those who are still missing.
There are still 1,196 people who were detained and disappeared and whose whereabouts are still unknown. It's unacceptable. It's intolerable. It can't be considered natural.
This September 11th marks the beginning of a year-long commemoration that will culminate next year, the 50th anniversary of a date that millions here regard as a day of infamy. Lucia Newman, Al Jazeera, Santiago.
Internationally, as Western nations voice doubts about reviving the 2015 deal, Iran's economy and people are suffering. The Iranian rial has lost 60% of its value since the US sanctions were reimposed in 2018, and inflation has shot up to more than 40%. Al Jazeera's Dorsa Jabari reports.
This is Iran's biggest annual carpet exhibition. 400 stalls featuring its most well-known product. The week-long event is a chance for merchants from across the country to showcase their works. The Heydarian family has been making rugs since 1890. Arash Heydarian is the fifth generation to run the business that employs 1,500 people across Iran. His family has been producing carpets for the past 130 years, and about 10 years ago used to export up to 90% of them. Now, that number is down to less than 30%. Arash is hoping for a breakthrough in talks on the Joint Comprehensive Plan of Action, or JCPOA.
If they reach an agreement over the GCPOA and the banking system works well, in 5 or 6 months, I would say the export of carpets would improve by about 50 or 60%. Now, the rate of the US dollar in Iran is also important because it needs to stabilize so the business can rely on one rate.
Domestic sales are also down since most Iranians are no longer able to afford expensive carpets due to the high cost of living and a currency that's devaluing by the day.
The Iranian rial is pegged to the US dollar here, and since the United States left the nuclear deal in 2018, the rial has lost more than 60% of its value, and inflation is over 40%. That makes Iran one of the world's most unstable countries for foreign investors, and without that investment, its future is bleak.
The Organization for Economic Cooperation and Development gives Iran a level 7 rating in terms of its ability to repay external debt. That's the lowest rate possible, and it's the same as Afghanistan and Iraq. The Chamber of Commerce says $10 billion of capital is leaving Iran every year, and it blames decades of international sanctions.
You need investments. These investments needs stability. Stability in flowing the money. Right now, we face outflow of money from the country, the first issue. The second issue, that's very important, if deal reach to the conclusion today, is the income of governments. But again, this uncertainty to continuous of JCPOA case cause problem for us.
Members of the Heydarian family say they hope Iran and the United States can reach an agreement and establish peaceful relations. That way, their business and others might survive for other generations. Dorsa Jabari, Al Jazeera, Tehran.
And finally, King Charles III paid tribute to the reign of the late Queen as he was formally declared the nation's new monarch. Al Jazeera's Paul Brennan reports.
From the balcony of St James's Palace to a fanfare of trumpets and in front of expectant crowds, the heralds proclaimed the accession.
The crown of the United Kingdom of Great Britain and Northern Ireland is solely and rightfully come to the Prince Charles Philip Arthur George, become our only lawful and rightful liege lord, Charles III. 3 cheers for His Majesty the King. Hip hip! Hooray! Hip hip! Hooray! Hip hip! Hooray!
Minutes earlier, the accession ceremony itself had been sombre and administrative, but no less momentous. In the front row, 6 former British Prime Ministers stood shoulder to shoulder. This gathering comprises the King's Privy Council, his senior political advisers, and the new King, still mourning the loss of his mother, solemnly accepted the mantle of monarchy.
My mother's reign was unequalled in its duration, its dedication and its devotion. Even as we grieve, we give thanks for this most faithful life. I am deeply aware of this great inheritance and of the duties and heavy responsibilities of sovereignty, which have now passed to me.
The Orders of Council were read out one by one, the new king giving his approval to each.
Approved.
And then, with a signature and a bow, the king was formally proclaimed. The historic, centuries-old royal proclamation, hardly changed since the Middle Ages and never before broadcast beyond the walls of this palace, serves to emphasise the stability and continuity of the royal line. Queen Elizabeth's reign is over. King Charles steps seamlessly into the role as head of state. As protocol dictates, heralds were dispatched to the City of London to take news of the proclamation there. For sheer spectacle, there are very few that can rival the grandeur and ceremonial that surrounds the British royalty. Elaborate titles, protocols and robes which have their roots in medieval pageantry. And all the while, the crowds of well-wishers and mourners continue to gather from near and far.
I'm here to see a transition in history which we may not see in our lifetimes, from queen to king. We may not get to see that again because the next 3 monarchs are going to be all men. So it's a memorable time to be here and to be a part of an occasion like this.
The last few days have been quite surreal almost. It's hard to take it all in. So yeah, I think we just wanted to come down here today just to try and help us sort of make those next few steps into having a king as the leader of the country.
I didn't realise until the last few days what's going to change. Everything's changing, a whole lot, let alone the royal family. So everything, even for us, stamps, post boxes, everything.
One of those fundamental changes was visible in the Parliament. Gathering for a rare Saturday session, the Prime Minister and other party leaders renewing and updating their oaths of allegiance, pledging their loyalty to the King. Returning to Buckingham Palace, there is much for the new king to do. The official period of mourning continues. A state funeral awaits. A coronation will follow. And the line of succession is maintained. Paul Brennan, Al Jazeera, Central London.
And that is it for today's regional and international news. Here now is your 3-day weather forecast. That is all for this edition of Channel 2's Headline News Updates. Tune in on Tuesday at 7 p.m. for another episode. Be sure to subscribe, like, and follow us on Facebook and YouTube. Until then, please take care of yourself and each other.